This is Bug Bounty Recap. It's the 20th of January and let's get into it. A DOM-based XSS through ads was found in Urban Dictionary. Now, Urban Dictionary is a dictionary where the public can write the definitions, but a DOM-based XSS was possible in there through ads. Now, how does that work? Well, there is this page that hosts ads. And now these ads, they like to have a reference to the page where they are hosted. So they use the URL from the page that is loading them. And now this researcher found that through a crafted URL such as seen here, he could actually get an XSS to work because of the way that Urban Dictionary was placing these ads on the page. And that is how BurmoDTWZ got this XSS on Urban Dictionary. A huge congratulations. This is a Bug Bounty Recap. It's the 21st of January and let's get into it. An exposed Golang debugger was found on mail.ru. Now, mail.ru is a Russian internet provider, also known as VK, and well, they had this exposed pprof debug interface open. Now, pprof is a package for profiling your Go application. So this can be used to track down memory leaks and whatnot. However, this debug interface was left open to the public, and here this researcher could find a ton of information such as memory usage, application timing, stack traces. But here the researcher could also trigger a garbage collection, and repeatedly triggering the garbage collection to run will also cause a denial of service. So Ian, a huge congratulations on your finding. This is Bug Bounty Recap. It's the 22nd of January and let's get into it. A stored XSS was found on linkpop.com, which is an asset owned by Shopify, where people can create links that can be used to let customers buy products. However, there was an issue there because this researcher found that we can actually get an XSS by setting the URL of such a link to JavaScript. However, what does the UI think of that? Well, look at this image. The UI doesn't like it. It says invalid URL. But as any good researcher knows, we should put this through a proxy and try to modify that because the UI, the front end, always lies. And that's what this researcher did. In Burp, he caught the request and changed it and sent it through, and that gave him a stored XSS. So a huge congratulations, Nagli, for this great finding. This is a Bug Bounty Recap. It's the 23rd of January and let's get into it. A reflected XSS was found on Shopify. Now, Shopify is a global e-commerce platform for businesses, and they have this feature called Shopify GitHub integration. By using this feature, you can link your GitHub account to your Shopify, and that way you can do some nice things with themes. However, during the process of setting that up, there was an XSS possible, a reflected XSS. During the setup, you would be redirected to /github/setup and then have some get parameters there, which contained the installation ID. And this parameter is apparently reflected, and the researcher was able to get an XSS using this payload. So a huge congratulations BRepresent on this 3,500 USD bounty. This is a Bug Bounty Recap. It's the 24th of January and let's get into it. An IDOR or Insecure Direct Object Reference vulnerability was found on indiehackers.com, which is a website owned by Stripe. Now, indiehackers.com is an online community for entrepreneurs. However, something was noticed in their email, in the way that you change emails on the website. Because if you do so in the request, you supply your ID, and then you change the email for the account with that ID. However, the researcher found that if you change that ID to somebody else's ID, that you could actually change their email address on their account. And that's not where it ends, because if you've changed their email address, then you can get a forgot password link to your email, and then you can take over their account. So DK82HG, a huge congratulations on this amazing finding and on your 3,000 USD bounty. This is Bug Bounty Recap. It's the 25th of January and let's get into it. A buffer overflow was found in Ruby. Now in this escape HTML method there is the creation of this buffer, and this buffer is created by taking the length of our input string, and that length is returned as a long. Then we're multiplying that by an HTML escape max length, which is 6. However, on certain operating systems, such as Windows 10, the long data type takes up 4 bytes. So in some cases, if we pass in this amount of characters, it will overflow the long data type, and we will initialize a buffer of size 1024. However, later on in the program we're gonna loop and we're gonna actually try to put data into that buffer, but because the program doesn't expect it to be this small, we have a buffer overflow. So Chamal, a huge congratulations on this finding and on your 1,200 USD bounty. This is Bug Bounty Recap. It's the 26th of January and let's get into it. An issue arose on FatLife where a user's posts can become unavailable. FatLife is an online community for not safe for work stuff, and you can make an account there and post things on your wall. And in these posts you can type Markdown. Now this researcher crafted this payload which contains an invalid character, and upon making that post, he noticed that his post page returned a 500 internal server error. Not only that, all of his posts, his whole profile, returned a 500 internal server error, and thus he could make his own profile unavailable to anybody. Note that this was only possible on his own profile, but this vulnerability could potentially be chained with other things to make it more severe, and I had never seen such a thing in Markdown, so that's why I included it. So a huge congratulations Castillo on your 100 USD bounty.